So what if you could basically get a cheat sheet for life? And what if that cheat sheet was written by over 100 of the world's absolute top performers? Well, that's pretty much what Tim Ferriss created with his book, Tribe of Mentors. And look, this isn't some stuffy rule book. Think of it more like a toolkit, packed with wisdom from all sorts of amazing people. Billionaires, artists, athletes, you name it.
And let's be real for a second. Who doesn't feel this way? You know the feeling. You're staring at a to-do list that just won't quit. Your inbox is a complete nightmare. And on top of all that, you're supposed to be figuring out the next 5-10 years of your life. It's just paralyzing.
But what if the answer wasn't to somehow magically solve all those huge, scary problems at once? What if the real key, the real secret, was just to ask a better question? A single question that could untangle all those knots in your head and show you a much clearer path forward.
And you know, what's really fascinating is that this entire book, this whole project, it started from that exact feeling of anxiety. Tim Ferriss himself was turning 40, he was feeling totally stuck, and his own list of life's big questions left him completely frozen. So this isn't some guru on a mountaintop telling you what to do. This whole thing was born from a very real, very human place of feeling completely lost.
This is the question that broke the logjam for him. It's the beating heart of this entire toolkit. And here's the thing you gotta get about it. This question isn't a cheat code to get out of hard work, not at all. It's a tool to get rid of all the unnecessary complexity we love to pile onto our problems. It just forces you to find the most direct, the most elegant path, instead of the most complicated one.
Okay, so you ask yourself, what would this look like if it were easy? Well, the very first answer that the mentors seem to offer is surprisingly really simple. It starts with courage. And we're not talking about the superhero, saving the world kind of courage. We're talking about the courage to take that first, small, kind of uncomfortable step. You know, like finally having that conversation you've been putting off, or starting that project you feel totally unqualified for.
Tim Ferriss actually keeps this quote on his coffee table, and for a really good reason. It's this daily reminder that the world you get to experience is defined by the risks you're willing to take. Every single time you choose that difficult conversation or that uncomfortable action, you are literally expanding your world.
The actor and activist Jesse Williams puts it another way. He asked this really powerful question. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Seriously, think about that for a second. It's like a diagnostic tool for your own life. What projects, what relationships, what dreams are you avoiding? Simply because fear has its foot on the brake.
And then you have researcher Brené Brown, who just boils it all down to this simple, incredibly powerful mantra. It's a choice. That's it. At any given moment, you can go down the path of comfort. It's known, it's safe, or you can choose the path of courage. And that's the one that leads to growth.
Right. So courage is one thing, but what about those days when you're just drowning in tasks, when your brain feels like that spinning rainbow beach ball on a frozen computer screen? Well, for that, the mentors have this super practical emergency reset button for your day.
This strategy is called the burn method, and it is beautifully simple and incredibly effective. So when your day is totally spiraling out of control, don't just try to power through it. Just stop. Look at your calendar, find the first possible thing you can reasonably postpone, and just burn it. Reschedule it. The logic is perfect. It is so much better to reset and be on time for your next 3 meetings than to be late and completely frazzled for all 4.
Now, here's where it gets really cool. When you survey over 100 top performers, you start to see these patterns emerge. And when people from wildly different worlds, I'm talking comedy, filmmaking, fine dining, when they all land on the exact same solution for finding focus, you really need to pay attention. And yup, that solution was meditation. I mean, think about that group for a second. An actor, a comedian, a world-class chef, and an iconic film director. They all depend on meditation, not as some kind of spiritual cure-all, but as a truly practical tool. It's like a 20-minute reset that clears out the mental clutter and lets them be proactive for the rest of the day, instead of just reacting to everything.
The next tool in the kit is all about changing your relationship with maybe the most feared word in the dictionary, failure. The mentor suggests that not only should we not be afraid of it, but we should actually learn to see it as this essential, maybe even valuable teacher.
I just love this quote from Patton Oswalt. His favorite failure is bombing on stage. And why? Because it taught him this incredibly profound lesson. The consequences are almost never as catastrophic as your fear makes them out to be. You bomb, you wake up the next day, and what do you know? The world is still spinning. That right there is the key to building resilience.
This whole mindset is just perfectly captured by poker. Think about it.
In poker, you can make the absolute perfect decision and still lose the hand because of bad luck. Now, if you only focus on the outcome, losing the hand, you learn absolutely nothing. But if you focus on the decision you made, well, now you can analyze your strategy and actually get better in the long run. And that's the secret. Successful people learn to disconnect failure from the outcome and instead see it as feedback on their process.
Okay, this all leads to what might be one of the most profound ideas in the entire book. We're always told that life is this big journey to find yourself. But what if that's completely the wrong way to look at it? What if life is supposed to be way more active, way more creative than that? The most fulfilled and effective people that Ferriss talked to, they see life more like this. Maybe 25% of it is about finding out who you are. But the other 75%, the huge majority, is about actively creating the person you want to become. It's this massive shift from passive discovery to being the active author of your own story.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt puts it so well. I mean, think about it. Anyone can be a critic, right? It's so easy to define yourself by the things you're against or the things you dislike, but the real work, the real creation, that comes from building things, from contributing. Action is what truly defines you, not just your opinions.
So how do all of these tools, courage, focus, reframing failure, creating yourself, how do they all fit together? Well, they all circle right back to that first, simple, powerful question that just cuts through all the noise.
You know, the biggest takeaway here might just be this. You do not need a perfect 10-year plan. In fact, trying to make one is often the very thing that leads to that paralysis and anxiety we talked about. The real secret is to shift your focus from that overwhelming, distant horizon to the ground that's directly underneath your feet.
And this idea, it applies to absolutely everything. It doesn't matter if it's a tennis serve or your entire life's work. The principle is the same. Stop staring at the final destination. Break your massive ambition down into the smallest possible action you can take right now, and then pour all of your focus into just executing that one small step perfectly. That's the moment of impact. And if you win enough of those moments, the big goals just kind of take care of themselves.
So ultimately, this whole toolkit is a call to action. It's a reminder that our lives are not these pre-written stories we're just meant to discover. No, we are the authors. The past doesn't get to define your next chapter. So the only real question left is, what are you going to write next?